Yo, yo, yo! You know the drill. I'm actually going live tonight, so I have to go make sure it posted.
Hey, it's in English.
Hallelujah! Praise
For
the
the
skies.
first time in about 10 weeks.
That's not true. That is definitely not true. It's only been in a different language 3 times. So you're wrong. Sorry. We're gonna retweet it. Retweet. And then it's just a matter of I actually have to make sure. Okay. I think it went to Facebook.
Okay, so the 11th wasn't Spanish.
Oh my gosh. You are fact checking that. It has only been in a different language, I think, 4 times.
Our conference, so that was a lot more from Twitter.
That is unnecessary.
Chinese on the 20th.
That is unnecessary, you punk. Put your phone away.
I will.
Right now. This is my podcast. Do what you're told. Sorry. I'm abusing my power. Whoop, 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 whoop. I should have written a post. That was dumb. Whatever. Okay.
Put my phone away.
Is the sound off on your phone?
I think so.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't. You would have heard that when it just posted to Twitter. You would have heard that.
I don't know how it works.
That just means that.
And we're live. Hello, everybody.
I'm completely out of the live chat tonight. I'm sorry.
Perfect. This is going to be good.
Just wait. Bob's gonna show up.
Oh gosh, that would be really entertaining. I haven't seen Bob in a while. Alrighty. Welcome to Liv's Library, you guys. It's so good to have everyone back again. I really do very much enjoy these things. I do them for myself, and if y'all enjoy them, then that's cool. If not, why are you watching? Like, really, you probably have better things to do than watch an hour of me having weird conversations with my friends. So if you don't enjoy this, go away. And if you do enjoy it, then please stay. And join us in the comments because it's a lot of fun. Okay, so you guys might remember, oh, dang it, I'm playing with my hair. I told myself not to do that. You guys might remember and recognize my dear friend Jake here, who is my co-host this week, and he is a repeat host. So I'm very excited to have you. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks. I'm glad to be back.
There are different questions this week. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. So the first question is, share the first motivational thought that you have now. Wow, you are very slow at the now part.
I guess I'm not very motivated right now.
Oh my gosh.
You fail at 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, I think.
I like that. Very good. Very good. I think that is a great motivational thought. Okay. Fruit or vegetable?
Fruit.
What's your favorite fruit?
Kiwi.
Wow, that's an interesting one. What is the most normal thing you do?
Sleep.
That's such a boring answer.
That's for the most normal thing.
Okay, other than sleep.
Drive a car?
Okay. The question did not work out the way I was hoping it would. Okay.
You asked the question.
I did. What is a movie that you are currently in love with?
I haven't seen any movies lately.
Well, it doesn't have to be a new movie.
Okay, Big Fish.
All right, all right.
It's my favorite, so.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, list one other favorite.
Scarlet Pimpernel.
Okay, that works. Okay, that is pretty much it. So the next question I have for you kind of takes us into our topic. These questions go by a lot faster. The next question that I have for you will take you into our topic. The topic is theatre. So for this particular topic and theatre, what is the most influential show you've ever been a part of?
Influential for me, well, that Scarlet Pimpernel. That's why when she asked that it was my favorite, it's actually my favorite show because it was the first show that I did at a semi-professional level. I had done things in elementary school and stuff, but not to the extent. And so that one started my foundation of how I got involved with theater to the extent I am today.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, so since we are talking about this particular topic, I want to give each of us the opportunity to maybe give a little bit of a background as to why we might be qualified to have a little bit of a discussion about theatre. So why don't you go first and give a little bit of a spiel of how you are qualified to have a discussion about theater.
Okay. I have been working in the theater in some form or another for many, many years now. My first show all time was with Missoula Children's Theater in elementary school. I can't remember the name of I think it was like The Princess and the Pea or something, but I can't remember what it was. But then from there, moved up. My early years, I was on stage, and then puberty happened, and I stopped being able to, or stopped trying to sing, I should say. And then I moved backstage, and that's where I've just ran with it. I've worked for Carnival Cruise Lines. I have worked for Tuacahn Center for the Arts down in St. George, Utah. And then I've worked many, many union shows in the Salt Lake area, and I think overall the shows I've done, it's close to 50 or so in the past 6 years. And those are just ones that are worth counting. If you count little, rentals and stuff, it's hundreds. So, but I've been doing live sound for like 15 years now. So needless to say, I enjoy theater.
And you recently applied for a job with Disney, which I think is super cool.
Disney Cruise Lines wants me to come interview with them next week, so we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen with that one, but they're trying, so.
See, I think that's really cool that you are being requested. Like, they're like, hey, we know you. We know you're good at what you do. Will you please come and interview? I think that's really cool. That doesn't happen frequently, especially, for a little old somebody like me. So I think that's really cool. I think that speaks very highly to the level of understanding and the level of work that you have, and also just the level of talent that you have. I mean, it takes talent, and it takes a lot of, it takes a very unique person to be able to do what you do, and I think that you are very good at it.
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun. For me, my experience with theater, I've been more on the acting side the whole time. I did a lot of little shows when I was younger. I did a lot of choir. I did a lot of theater, just anything that I could get my hands on. I did a lot of community stuff. There was a lot of homeschool productions, which were really fun to be a part of. There were a lot of just city performances. There were a lot of just youth programs that were offering shows, and I would just audition and be in a bunch of things. I remember being in Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. I remember being in Aladdin. I remember doing, what was the one that I did? It was some Dr. Seuss show, but it wasn't Seussical, and I think we wrote it ourselves.
Okay.
I really think that the city wrote it themselves. And
Surprised me.
it was really good, surprisingly good. And I just remember doing a lot of different things. I've been involved in a lot of shows. When I got into high school, I got very into theater, even more than I was before. I've always filmed videos. I've always loved acting. That's always been something I've wanted to do, and it's always been something that I've worked towards. I took acting classes. I've taken voice lessons. I've done a lot of stuff to be able to make myself proficient so that I could do stage performance. And in high school, I did that a lot. I auditioned for our our high theater class, and had the opportunity to do a bunch of shows with that particular group. I was able to do some of the big shows. Granted, I never really got a lead, and that's okay with me. I loved being in the ensemble, and one of my favorite parts was having a lead part in the ensemble, because it gave me an opportunity to shine without having to learn a bunch of lines.
Less stressful.
And I got to know stage crew. I got to do a lot of things on stage crew because I spent time getting to know people. I've always been that friendly like person that kind of reached out and got to know everybody.
Right.
And so where a lot of other theater people were spending time with theater people, I was spending time with stage crew because I liked them better. I loved my friends who were in theater, but they would all kind of hang out, and I always felt a little left out, always felt like a little bit of an outsider. And so when I would go and hang out with stage crew, and I got to work, and I learned a lot of things about the behind the scenes. I was put in charge of certain things when I wasn't on stage as part of the stage crew. I went back to my high school after graduating and helped out with theater in later years. I started studying theater in college. And the only reason I dropped out I changed my major was because it is very political, and I was very tired of the politics. And so I decided that I would go a different route, and I would continue to take community classes and do community shows because I'm very tired of the politics. I discovered very quickly, and this is kind of one thing that I wanted to ask you, so this is kind of going into a little bit more of the question. One thing that I discovered as I was participating in this particular aspect of the show, I learned that if you continue to perform in one place and you have the same people that come and perform at the same place, the director then figures out who they like best, who they think is most talented, who they think will do best, and then they kind of fit them everywhere. This happened in high school, and there was one girl who got the lead for all 3 years. First of all, in high school, that shouldn't happen. There's a lot of kids. There were hundreds of kids. They came and auditioned for the show. It should not have been the same girl all 3 years. And second of all, she is a phenomenal actress. I loved her performance, but I got really tired of watching her. Like, got really tired of it. And this was, I wasn't in school during the time that she was in there, but I had siblings who were in school. So I would go to the show because my siblings were in the shows too, and it was the same girl. And I don't appreciate that. And that happened in high school, in college too. I would go to all the shows and I would audition for the shows, and it was the same 6 people who were the leads every time. And it happens in community level. It happens everywhere, and it's very frustrating to me because there are a lot of talented people who don't get the opportunity. And I'm not saying that you should discriminate and say, oh, you got the part last time, we shouldn't give it to you. But what I am saying is you need to have an open mind, rather than saying, if this person auditions, I already know that I'm going to give it to them. And do you find that that's the case in the tech side of things as well?
In a lot of places, yes. One of the things that I have found, especially in areas like Utah, is that it's as much who you know as what you know. And at least for the tech side, theater is a very small world. As I said earlier, I was working for Tuacahn, and my roommate that they assigned me was from Ohio. And his roommate in grad school was my friend Garrett, your friend, you know Garrett as well, his older brother.
Okay.
Jesse, my roommate, had never been to Utah before. And yet, within 1 degree, we had a mutual friend connection, and his roommate is now the TD at Weber State. So cool. It's a small world, and Jesse's words were, theater's a small world, and I make it smaller. So it just, sometimes it can be very much that way, that you have the same people and over again, and I do see that a lot. But it can also be the exact opposite, that if you take and you screw up with one person, you will never work again. Exactly.
And I think that's really, that's huge. That's something a lot of people don't realize about, like, Hollywood. If there's an actor you don't see for a really long time, it's because no one wants to work with this particular actor. It's because this particular actor has kind of burned all the bridges. Yeah. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Oh, there's so many, but I can't like think of one specific. And I also don't want to badmouth anybody because I think that oftentimes people have really bad stigma on set of certain sets, and then on other sets they have a great relationship with people and they work really well. Here's one that I could think of. Katherine Heigl. She was on Grey's Anatomy for a long time, and they ended up taking her off the show because she became a diva. Apparently, this is what was in the tabloids. I don't believe the tabloids, but there's in every lie there's just the tiniest speckle of truth. Yeah. So who knows? Either she was the diva or someone else on set was a diva and didn't like her getting a lot of attention. She was really pretty. She was a character that a lot of people could relate to, a character that a lot of people sympathized with and kind of loved. And so she was definitely gaining momentum as a character that people liked. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other female characters in the show were kind of annoying and other people didn't particularly like find themselves drawn to those particular characters. Right. So it could have been that she was a diva, or it could have been that one of the other girls was like, you know what? I'm a bigger part than she is. I want that known. Take her away. And so they did. But then on other sets, she's known as, and maybe she's a diva because she does also get the same rumor in other shows as well. But then she's in other shows and people are like, oh, she's such a hard worker. She has such a good attitude. She's always upbeat. She's very happy. So it depends on who you're talking to, and it depends on, what situation you're in.
It's too bad because when you're talking about if it was possibly a diva, she's becoming too popular and everything. I've been reading a book. I didn't know if you were going to be asking about books on this one, but I finished one. We actually talked about it a couple weeks ago. It's called The Four Doors. And one of the things he talks about is that the Filipinos have a term called the crab pot mentality, something to that effect. And basically, on its own, a crab could get out of a cage just by climbing. The hole's big enough. I mean, they came in. But once they get out, or as they start to climb out with other crabs down below, the other crabs actually pull the crab back into the pot. And so it's the mentality, you can see how it relates to people, is like we tend to be in a position where we don't want people to succeed more than us because it reminds us of our failures. And it's really too bad that we have that mentality way too much.
It's so sad. I mean, I can think of that in just like everyday life. Frequently I see single people being very upset when people get into relationships or when they get married. And it's like, why aren't you just happy for your friend? Why on earth are you like so frustrated? You will have your time. Let them have their moment. You can have yours, and then you'll both be happy. Like, oh my goodness, calm down. Okay, so a little bit of a different side that I kind of wanted to talk about with shows with theater as well. Some really, really great shows. There are a lot of great shows. I just barely got back tonight before doing this. I was with my family and we went to see my sister perform. She was in the city choir and they were performing with, I believe, an orchestra that was made up of people in the county. I'm not sure exactly what orchestra it was. An orchestra that was made up of people in our general area with the city choir. And they were doing a Broadway night. And they did a lot of like hits from Broadway. Yeah. And it made me think of all the amazing shows. I had thought about just making this entire show about musicals because you and I both very much have a love for musicals. And I think even more than straight theater, musicals for me are very passion-filled. I love straight theater, but it's harder for me to get into unless the actor is phenomenal.
Yeah, it has to be a well-written show and it has to be well-casted. There are a few that I've been a part of that have been amazing. Mm-hmm. There's not a dry eye at the end.
Right.
One that I remember is called The Yellow Boat, and it's about a boy who had hemophilia, and so it's a blood disorder. And it is an amazing, beautiful show because it was cast well and it was done perfectly.
Mm-hmm. I think that tends to be the case with a lot of different shows.
Yeah.
I feel like there would be so much pressure being the director of a show because you would have to make sure that you can see this person in that as that character so much that when people come, I mean, that's something when I watch movies, I love watching movies with actors that I know, and not because I'm not because I'm like, oh, I love this actor, I want to go see everything that they're in. I do that with some actors. But I like to see movies with actors that I know, because I like to forget who they are and transform them into who they are in the show, on the screen. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. There are times when I'm watching a Johnny Depp movie where I completely know this is Johnny Depp. And sometimes I think this is Captain Jack Sparrow, because he does a lot of the same characteristics. But then in movies like Black Mass, for example, which I highly recommend, but don't watch it if you don't like gory. Well, it's not even gory. It's a very violent movie. He plays a mob boss, Whitey Bulger, who is the most notorious mobster in Boston. Just recently was arrested by the FBI. Just recently, he was working with the FBI for a while. I mean, this whole story is phenomenal. And Johnny Depp played Whitey Bulger, and I went and I watched this movie, and I'm sitting in the theater and I'm watching, and I swear about 10 seconds after I saw him, I forgot completely it was Johnny Depp. And I had done a lot of research on this movie. It was a movie I wasn't sure if I wanted to see or not, but I decided that it was a story I really wanted to know, and I felt like it was going to be done very well. And they weren't going to throw in a lot of unnecessary scenes. Yes, it was going to be violent. Yes, there were going to be some words that I didn't particularly care to hear, but they were going to be necessary. They were going to play a part in telling the story. And so I decided to go see it. I am so glad I did. So glad. It was phenomenal, and I forgot completely that it was Johnny Depp. I didn't even realize that there were other actors in the movie that I knew until I went back and I was reading the credits. And I always stay after and watch the credits. And it wasn't until reading the credits I was like, wait, what? And then I had to go on to IMDb and really fact check it, because I was like, no way, I did not know. And that's because everyone did such a phenomenal job in their part that I didn't even. I mean, one of my favorite things to do when I'm watching a movie is to say, oh, this person is from this movie. I love recognizing people, but I love even more when I'm done with the movie and I'm shocked that it's people I knew, because I got so lost in the story. And it's the same with stage as well. And
then you have the exact opposite end of the spectrum, where you have certain shows that straight up no sane actor would take those roles, like Johnny Depp, the Lone Ranger, that no one else could have attempted that role. Yeah. I mean, it was a good movie, but it was a Johnny Depp portrayal. Mm-hmm. And you knew it was Johnny Depp the entire time.
Oh yeah. I think this happens all over the place, both in movie theaters and on the stage, mm-hmm. and in every aspect of the performing arts. I feel like there are times when people make you completely forget where you are, what you're doing, and they get you enthralled in the story. And there are other times where you're just like, whoa. I mean, for example, with this concert tonight, there were certain songs where I was just like, oh, sweetie, oh gosh, wow. And it wasn't because they were pitchy. Some of them were, but it wasn't because they were pitchy. It was the fact that there was no emotion. There was this one girl singing On My Own, which is a song that Eponine sings in Les Mis. I love that song. It's so emotional. She stood there with one hand holding a microphone. First of all, there were mic stands. She could have left the mic in the mic stand. She should have, because it would have given her a little more opportunity for movement. She's holding the mic with one hand, and the other hand is held very tightly against her body. And I was like, sweetie, you look really nervous. You're not, your voice is beautiful. If you were acting a little bit, if there was a little bit more movement in your performance, granted, I mean, yeah, it was a choir show, but there still needs to be emotion. There still needs to be other things. There was one guy who sang Luck Be a Lady from Guys and Dolls, and I love that song so much, and he did a phenomenal job. He didn't even know all the words. No, like, I don't think a lot of people noticed. He full on had a paper in his hand that had some of the words on it. And there were occasional times where he would go up and he'd do a pose and he would look at his paper and then he'd go back to singing. And I was like, oh my goodness, that was brilliant. Yes, people might notice there's a paper in your hand, but I don't think a lot of people are getting distracted by the fact that you're reading because you are so into the song. And, you know, he didn't hit every note perfectly, but he did a phenomenal job of just performing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when it is so fun to watch, when someone is performing.
Right.
They're putting everything out there, and I love that.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favorite, it's not a Broadway show. It's almost more of a review than anything else. So it's a combination of multiple songs from multiple shows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Our Story Goes On. And it's actually an outreach for the LDS Church's Nauvoo pageant, but it is made up of popular songs, and it tells the story going from a mother having her daughter all the way up to the daughter taking and having her daughter. And so it fills in a 45-minute show. It just shows her entire life, and you have different characters play different roles, and just the ability to come alive through music, even if it's taken from another story. The individual songs themselves, if they're done well, can take and tell an entire story on their own. And I love that. I love that about the theater and how the music can be so well written.
Mm-hmm. I think I find this very frequently. I just recently watched a movie in theaters called Mother's Day. Just barely came out this weekend, and I watched it this weekend. There was not a silent person in that entire theater. Everyone was laughing. Oh my goodness, the whole movie, everyone was laughing.
Were
it
they
was
supposed
so
to be?
good. Yes.
Okay. So
yes,
that's a good
it was
thing.
such a funny movie. So well done. I mean, there were moments where you were very emotionally invested in. I mean, these characters, these people. I mean, it's a star-studded cast. But I feel like you did kind of forget who the different actors were because they really were portraying that person.
Yeah.
And there were moments where you were listening to a popular song and everybody knew the words to the song, and it made the movie move forward. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might have been something that everyone was kind of jamming to, but at the same time, you were supposed to jam to it.
Right.
And so it was part of the show, even though it was something that had been on the radio or it was something that like other people knew. And it was so good. So great. I loved it.
I love when the music, because of the way that a Broadway musical is written, every single song tells its own story. Mm-hmm. So it's like a chapter. So take, we were talking Les Mis, you have the Bring Him Home. That is a prayer. And you can tell it is very much, you are thinking nothing of anything else of the show except for the care that he has for his daughter's new love and the prayer to bring him home safely at whatever sacrifice to himself it takes. And then you go on to the next one and you have the suicide of Javert is his torn, you have given me, you have changed my entire thinking on humanity as to whether or not someone can change and be good, and it's ruined everything he knows. And when it's done well, it is one of the most emotional songs, just because he doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I love that. And then you have the happier ones.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so powerful when there is someone who really has something to say,
right,
and they have passion behind it, whether it's a song, whether it's a monologue, but whatever it is, even if it's a dialogue, two people having a conversation, if that person has passion behind what they're saying, you forget everything else and you are in that moment. You forget your life. That's one of my favorite things. I used to go to the movie theater every single week because I needed a break from just life. I needed to get away from everything, and I just needed to make time for me to get away. And that's what I did. And I went to the movie theater because it was easier and because I knew what was playing. I would have gone to open theater, but oftentimes they were during times when I didn't have time available. But it was just going to a show, seeing a performance, losing yourself in the moment. I even think of, that concert we went to back on Christmas time.
Capitol Theater.
It was so beautiful. And there was a story being told, but it wasn't like a show. It was just a bunch of people singing different songs and
about the music.
Different people traveling in and off stage, and you got into every song, and every song was different. There were some songs where you were just like up and dancing and like yeah, and there were like full on like gospel choir style songs. There was some hip hop going on. There was some crazy a cappella going on, and then there were like very sacred special moments where it was just very solemn. But it was still, everyone was invested the entire time, and I loved it. It was so beautiful. And it's so amazing how when you go into a theater, you are allowing someone else to take over and take you to another place.
I love that with that one, context also determines the mood of the music. One of my favorite songs is Fix You by Coldplay. And at that concert, they took it at a completely different, with a very Christmas-related message. And it was just one of the most beautiful songs that they did there. And it was just amazing.
I agree. It was a very well done performance. So here's a question for you. What are name your top 5 favorite things about theater? That can be things that you do, things that you've seen, anything that makes you happy about theater in any aspect, a concert, a show, a movie, any aspect of theater and the performing arts. Name your top 5 favorite things.
Okay, my number 1 favorite thing about theater has been since day one, it's the reason why I do everything, is being the ability to take someone's words in a script and turn it into something real, something tangible, something that you can see and something you can feel. The next thing is me as a designer, the ability to take and based on my choices, direct how I want you to feel. Just by changing the music from something solemn to something happy, the words being said cannot change. That dialogue can be exactly the same, but I can make it follow the mood that I want it to. Number 3 would be that I love working with the people. You get to see so many amazing different types of people, especially when you go from different types of theaters. If you're working at community theater, it's going to be one group of people. If you're working at professional theater, it's going to be a very different type of people. If you're working with a high school, it's going to be something else completely. And it doesn't matter. If I'm going from the Hope Box Theater in Kaysville, Utah community theater to Centerpoint in Centerville, another community theater, very similar values, but very different people involved and very different politics. Number 4, I love the storytelling. Just being able to take and just sit down for a couple of hours and be taken somewhere else entirely. And then number 5, just the beauty of it all and the simplicity of, the theater is not simple. There's a lot involved in bringing into it, but the art is very simple. It is there to entertain. And if it weren't there to entertain, if it weren't entertaining, people wouldn't watch, and therefore people wouldn't come, and it wouldn't be there.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Very good. Some good things to be favorited. I would say probably if I were to name a couple of my favorite things, my first all-time favorite thing is to be able to learn something new. I always feel like I get to know the character I play before I play them, and then when I am able to play them, I know this person and this person is me, but I'm not that person.
Right.
Like it's very interesting to be able to have a relationship with someone that you are then portraying on stage or on screen in any aspect. And I think I love being able to do the research beforehand, and I love learning so that I can then portray to the best of my ability. Another thing that I really, really love, I love closing night. And like I love opening night and closing night. Opening night because you have the shock on everyone in the audience's faces at how well the show went and how the story just touched them. Closing night because you get to see how much the story touched the cast. Because the cast realizes this is the last time I'm going to be able to perform this show ever. Even if you do the exact same play, even if you do the exact same show, it's not the same show because it's not the same people. It's not the same lighting. It's not the same director. It's not the same audience. It's not the same in any way.
And even if you do repeat everything exactly, it's still different. It's
a different experience. And I love that. So I think those are probably my top three. Another one is just simply like, I think that it is a beautiful art form, and I think I love telling the story, and I love being able to get to know other people, and I love finding other people who are just as passionate about the art as I am. So those are probably my top favorite. Okay, tell me some of your biggest pet peeves that happen in a theater.
Politics.
Okay, well, more than one, and you have to expound. I'll give you three.
Okay.
Give me your top three pet peeves.
So number one is politics, because we've talked about it a little bit before, and I understand that it happens, that there are people who choose their favorite people and everything, but there are certain cases where someone else would be a much better place, but because of the politics, the role went to someone else, or the job went to someone else, and so it makes it harder for the rest of us to want to keep going. And another pet peeve, say a lot, but it would be offensive to a lot of people. So
it's your opinion. If people get offended, that's their own fault. You choose to be offended, y'all. So if you are offended by what we say, like I said at the beginning, why are you watching?
There tends to be a lack of common sense with actors, if that makes sense. Just things that most people would not struggle with. Actors tend to struggle with a lot.
Okay, give examples.
Simple things like finding their light. As a designer, we put a light on you so that you can be seen. If you come complain to me because people are saying they can't see you, but we have the light in the exact same spot every night, maybe there's something to be said there.
Well, granted, so I get that. I do. But it's gosh dang hard to find your light when you are in a performance. You're trying to stay in character. You're trying to be on stage, and you can't see. There's literally lights everywhere, and you are blinded. So how on earth? I mean, yes, you have already walked through the entire show. You know that you have to stand this far away from the couch and this far away from the chair to be in your light. But when you are in the moment, you're not necessarily thinking about that. And so it has to become a muscle memory thing. And for a lot of people, they don't get a lot of opportunity to put it into muscle memory because they don't get a lot of opportunity to be on the set with everything there. And so they're learning things fairly quickly, and it's really easy to forget when you are in the moment. So I do get that one, and I agree with you. But then to defend the actor, because I am the actor, it is very hard. And especially if you're in the moment. And you're blinded. You don't know which light is on you. And you're like, is this my light? Is it somebody else's light? This is a random stage light. It's hard. So I think, it might be a lack of common sense, but it's also just a lack of time, I think. and being able to really know
Yeah.
what we're doing.
And that's understandable. But don't come complain to me that there's not enough light on you.
Jake, there is not enough light on me. Oh my goodness. Okay, for real though, there's not enough light on you. And that's because that light is out. I am like, so much light on me in the video. And you are perfectly well lit. And me, I don't know how to balance it better. I'm figuring it out.
Okay, number 3 pet peeve. I don't know. I love theater, so there's very little bugs me that much, and maybe it's just that I've learned to accept it, so it doesn't. But actors pulling their mics out by the cable. There you go. That is probably actually my biggest pet peeve as a sound designer. Because that one, there is no excuse not to.
That's true. It's very true.
You know how much of my budget goes just to microphone repairs on that? It's sickening.
Do you just like, every time you meet a new cast member, just like stare at them directly in the eye and say,
I do.
You will pay for the mic yourself.
Every single time, and they still do it. When I hand mics out, that pretty much word for word. It's like, do you know how much this costs? It will come from you if you break it. And somehow still, and yet they claim it wasn't them. I don't know. There's a comic strip called Q to Q, and it has this little dinosaur gecko thing that goes around, and everything that everyone claims they didn't do, like today's, they do one on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and so today's was the stage manager had put the sign-in sheet, and so when she gets there, it is completely empty because this little dinosaur thing had erased every single one of their names that had all signed in, and she's like, how does every single person forget? So we'll blame it on him.
That's really funny.
You would enjoy Q to Q. Check it out, they're funny.
I guess if I were to answer the same question, mine are very different from yours. First of all, being anywhere in the theater, whether I am a participant of the show on the stage or in the screen, or I am in the audience as a viewer, as a, what's the word?
Patron. Patron,
thank you, of the arts. Oh, I hate when people pull out their phones. It makes me so angry. If you are in a bloody movie theater and you pull out your phone, leave the gosh dang theater because you should not be in there. I paid money to be able to watch this on a screen, and your light is distracting and immediately, so fast, pulls me out of the story, and I have a really hard time getting back into the story because I'm so angry and I'm thinking of all the ways that I want to curse you and your children. The same thing happens in a theater and a live performance. If you are the actor and some phone goes off or you see a light in the audience that should not be there, it throws you off. Even if you are perfect at avoiding that wall, at making that wall be there, you completely don't notice the audience. If there's a light, it's still for a split second throws you off, and then you are just a little off balance for the rest of the scene, potentially the rest of the show. It is very distracting. If there's a sound, oh my gosh, turn off your phones. Turn them completely off. It interferes with the mics. It interferes with people's concentration. It immediately takes people out of the show. It is it makes me want to say a pox on your phone. It makes me want to I want to curse people. It makes me so angry. Makes me so angry. There was one time after a show where this one woman who was sitting 2 rows ahead of me kept pulling out her phone. She wasn't checking the time. She full on was pulling out her phone. She didn't even turn the light down on her phone. It was very bright. In this black auditorium. And we're all watching. It's a live show. And I was so distracted because I would be watching the show, looking straight forward at the theater, and then all at the stage, and then all of a sudden, this little bling, and it's just bright white light. I'm blinded in one eye because it's so bright. So after the show, I walked up to her and I said, "Hi, are you the woman that kept pulling your phone out during the show?" And she said, "No, of course not." And I said, "Ma'am, I have a picture of you with your phone out because you were making me so angry that I pulled out my camera, which I was allowed to have, which had something over the screen so that you could not see. It was not a distraction at all. It did not have a flash on it. I was allowed to have it in there, and I did everything that I needed to make sure that that was not going to be a distractor to anybody. And I took a picture of the phone, and I said, 'This is you.' And I do not appreciate it. I paid $16 to see this show. Now, granted, that's not very expensive. That is actually fairly cheap for a good show. And I paid $16 to go to the show, and I did not pay to get distracted and not know what half of the storyline was, because it was a show I had never seen before. And I did not even know what half of the story was because I was so distracted by her phone. I told her, I said, "If I ever see you or anyone else with their phone out, I will report you. And I will make sure that you are banned from this theater because that is disrespectful to everybody." She was shocked. This woman was probably in her 40s or 50s, and she's like, "Who's this 20-year-old? I wasn't even, I might have been like 20. I feel like I was like just out of high school. And I was so livid. I was so angry. Especially because I was just out of high school and I had literally no money to my name, and I decided to budget $20 to go see this show because I really wanted to see it. That is a really big sacrifice for someone in that age of life. It's a sacrifice for me now to budget $20. But that's my biggest pet peeve, bar none. I think my other two, actors who are stuck up and feel like they're all that. And stage crew and tech producers who think that they're all that. I just don't like people who are super cocky. They drive me nuts. But especially when people think they're better than me or they know more than me. Like, I full on had people before tell me that I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, "Okay, how can I improve?" And they're like, "Just stop doing what you're doing." Okay, so you just want me to stand in the middle? I mean, they didn't give me any proper direction. So the next time that it was my turn to go on stage, I literally walked on stage and did nothing. And the director was like, "Why aren't you talking?" I was told not to do anything. I was told that everything I was doing was wrong. And the director said, "Who told you that?" I was like, "Well, this actor told me that I was saying a line wrong. They didn't tell me how to say it, but they told me I was saying the line wrong. And the light director told me that I was doing this wrong and that I needed to stop moving so much because he's having a hard time focusing the light on me." And I was like, that's BS. That is BS. You can put a light on someone and they can move all they want and the light will still show them. So I was like, oh, I don't appreciate people being condescending, demeaning, and cocky. I feel like it's very obnoxious. And so I guess in general, I don't like that. So I think that was probably a joint one, but those are kind of my pet peeves. They bother me. It's very frustrating to me. So, yeah.
But you'll find stuff like that everywhere,
Oh, you will.
unfortunately.
You will, definitely.
It's not just the theater.
No, it's not. It's not. I find the thing about the phones in theaters, it's a respect thing. It really is. And I think that those people that pull out their phones in a movie theater or in a live action theater, if you are pulling your phone out in a theater, you are being disrespectful. I don't care if it is a community orchestra and the city choir. You don't pull your phone out and text. I'm sorry. If you need to text, if you need to be on a phone call, leave the room. Because you came to watch these people perform. If you don't want to watch them perform, then you can leave because you are distracting me and you are making it so I can't watch it. It's a respect thing, and it's a respect thing in every aspect, I think.
Yep. And stay to the end.
Yeah. Good grief. I hate when people leave during the last song so that they can get out before traffic. It's like, you came to the show. You committed to being here the whole time. You committed to, sit in traffic because that's what happens. If you don't want to sit in traffic, wait afterwards and talk to the actors. They love that. I love that. It's like one of my favorite things when people stay afterwards and talk to me. It makes me feel very, very happy. It makes me feel loved.
It's fun.
Do you have any other thoughts or any things that you want to talk about as far as the theater goes?
Go see a show. They're fun.
Very nice. Okay. Okay. I guess in kind of ending, I want to ask one more question. Can you name 5 shows that everyone should go see? 5 live theater shows.
Lion King, hands down, number 1. Go see The Lion King. Even if it's on tour, just see it. But if you can see it in New York, I hear it's even better. That's on my list of things to do. I've just never been to New York yet. I can't say. Some of the just classics that you should at least be aware of, be like Guys and Dolls and Chicago. If it's done well, then Les Mis is an amazing one. But it has to be done well. And so choose wisely where you go see it.
Just go see it everywhere because it's very great to see that show. Ignore what he said. Just go see it everywhere. It's a good show.
I guess I was wrong when I said I don't have pet peeves. Because she's heard me, I do have technical pet peeves. I can tear apart a show, unfortunately.
Oh, I can too. I do frequently. I would love to be a critic. I think that'd be so fun.
Big Fish is on my list, definitely. Purely because of the story. That it is one of the most touching and telling stories based on the movie, but the theater production is done so much, or just as well, written just as well. And then Sound of Music is a really good one live. And Scarlet Pimpernel is really good live as well.
Those are some good suggestions. We're going to go back and make sure we post those down below so that you can actually know what those suggestions were. Mine would be for sure, I love Guys and Dolls. I think it's a great show. I think it has a good story. I love the music. It's definitely an upbeat, happy, positive show. Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
I love that story so much. It's such a sad story. And I don't know why, but I very much relate to and love the sad stories. Along with that, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Gotta love that show.
The Moment is
so good.
My favorite song of every theater song ever written. This is The Moment is my favorite. It is the, I've told her before that I want to go take voice lessons just so that I can play that role.
It's such a good show, and it's so powerful. And again, it's a sad story, but it so much touches my heart. I think My Fair Lady is a really fun one to watch. It's an interesting one to watch. It's never been my favorite, but it's always one that I enjoy when I go out and actually make the time to see it. I really like any Disney production, to be completely honest. I feel like they're written very well. Recently watched Tarzan. I saw Pinocchio. I've seen Peter Pan. Lion King is on my list. I'm going to be out in New York this summer, so I am going to finally get that off my bucket list and go see The Lion King, and I'm so excited about it. And I think just really, I would say look into the shows that are playing in your area and find one to go see. Whether you know the story or not. If it's a story you know, cool. Maybe you'll love the performance. Or maybe you'll hate it. If you don't know the story, go, because it's so fun to see and learn and know a new story. Definitely one of my top 5, and I don't know why I didn't mention it before, Children of Eden. I did that in high school, and that is a show that I am so grateful I was introduced to because it is phenomenal. It is such a well-done show, and I absolutely loved it. I've seen it done a couple of times, and I also got to participate in it as well, and it is a very, very beautiful story, and I could not imagine not knowing that show. It would make me very sad.
And can I make a suggestion? If you do ever see a show and you don't like it, please try and find it somewhere else before you write the show off.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is live theater, and so unfortunately, a single production can not always be 100%. So give it another chance somewhere else before you write off the show. If you still don't like it, then you're great. You're free to not like a show.
Yeah.
But don't not like a show because you didn't like a production.
Yes, I would say if it's the story you don't like, all right, granted, go for it. If it's the music you don't like, okay, like that's a reason not to like it. But if it is a production, I would say if you just didn't like the performance, you're like, all right, it was a good show. I just didn't particularly like that performance. I don't know if I'll ever see it again. See it twice. I always tell people, if you are unsure whether or not you like a show, see it twice. Different locations, different places, because you get to see different people's interpretations of the show, and I think that's so much fun. That's another thing that I really love.
Performers is the thing that unfortunately once in a while a performer can make or break a show.
Yes. So. Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. That was definitely true. When we did Les Mis in my high school performance, oh my gosh, we had people from all over the state come and watch our performance of Les Mis. It got such high reviews that we ended up doing an encore week of performances because it was so great. And the person that played Javert, he was definitely my favorite. Javert is my favorite character, so maybe it was a little biased, but I felt like the people that played the main roles, including like Gavroche, every single part, they made the show. I'm pretty sure if there had been anybody else in those roles, it would not have been as good. There was one character, and I will not say who because I know that my friends watch this. There was one character who I thought did a good job, but was not my first pick for that particular role. I still feel like this particular actor could have played a lead role, but I wanted really badly to switch 2 actors into different roles because I felt like they would have done better in the other role. And it was a politics thing. That's why the people got what they got. And I think that's the only thing that I did not like about our particular performance, because the politicalness of the show made it that. But it was phenomenal, very well done, and the ending was done so cool. Rather than having just everyone walk back on the stage and sing the final song, everyone who had died was in white. And I thought that was really, really cool, because that doesn't happen very often. And it was just, they were all wearing the exact same outfit they died in, but in white. So like Gavroche was wearing his little vest and his everything, but it was a white vest and overalls. And I thought it was such a cool show. Did you see it?
I did.
So good. Oh,
I saw both.
I loved it.
That one there. I also saw Children of Eden there.
So
Actually,
good.
No, I did not see Children of Eden there. I saw that one at Centerpoint, but it was still good.
You missed me in that really great show. And I had solos, and I was great.
Didn't know you at that point.
Truth. Well, thank you so much, Jake. I appreciated this. This has been a fun conversation. I think it's a topic that I find you and I have this conversation a lot. We talk a lot about theater, and we kind of just go around in circles. And a lot of times we'll talk about the same topics, and we have different opinions based on different times. But I'm really glad we were able to sit down and actually record this, because now we'll have this forever. Oh, precious. I'm weird, y'all. It's okay. I'm tired. I'm so tired. But thanks so much. I do appreciate you coming. This was a lot of fun. To kind of close, You know what's coming. What has been your weekly obsession? In the last week, what have you been most obsessed with?
Training.
Okay.
Um,
I know what that means.
outside of the theater, I do a lot of emergency response stuff. I am my city's emergency communication specialist, and so I have been spending a lot of time doing a bunch of FEMA trainings. Done like 10 trainings in the past 2 weeks, getting all prerequisites done for a big training that they're flying me to Vegas to do in a couple weeks. So
Very fun. Very fun. I struggled to come up with a weekly obsession because I've had so many, and I was trying to think of like one. But I would probably say that my weekly obsession this week has been my planner. I have been trying very hard to make sure that I have my planner with me all the time because I am getting ready to move to a new place, and I'm still working, and I'm trying to get a bunch of different things done before I leave, and so it means that I have to really plan out a lot, all of my time. And so I've had to write down and literally budget every minute of my day. And it's been very hard. And then when people like call me up and they'll say, hey, I want to do this, or hey, can you do this? I'm like, can you do it at like 10 o'clock at night? Because that's really the only time I have available. Or like at 6 o'clock in the morning. I really don't want to wake up that early, but I will if you really need it to be done. And so I've really had to budget it in. And I think that's probably been my biggest obsession this week is that my planner. So thanks once again. If you guys enjoyed having this particular episode of the podcast with Jake, go ahead and click the like button. Let me know that you enjoy our conversations and that you want to see him back again. I enjoy our conversations. I would love to have him back, but it's up to you to get him back. He's been here twice, and I need to know y'all like him.
Our last show has the most views of all of the other ones. We're at 88 views as of today.
Is that because you've watched it like 6 times?
No, it won't let me. I tried. It doesn't count my views anymore.
Has your family all watched it?
I don't know.
Also, shout out to Crystal because she's been watching and I love her. So thanks, Crystal. She's been participating in the live chat.
Was there any live chat?
Yeah, Crystal has been in there making comments, and I appreciate it. So I had to give her a shout out. Thanks so much. So if you do enjoy this, make sure to click the like button. If you want to know about new podcasts and you want to keep up to date on all the newest conversations, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, and go ahead and hit the follow or subscribe button if you are listening to this on iTunes or SoundCloud. Thank you so much for participating in this every single week. I absolutely love being able to do this. I love the fact that I have the opportunity to take a little bit of time out of my day each week and communicate and have some conversations with amazing people. So thank you so much for making that possible and for watching. Go ahead, comment below, letting me know what topics you want to hear about next. Maybe if you want me to co-host with somebody, comment down below, let me know who it is, and I will do my best to get them on the show. Also, don't forget to post your weekly obsession because I really do love reading them, and you never know, sometimes your obsessions become my obsessions. So last but not least, don't forget to smile. Remember, I love you. Stay beautiful.